and friendly police. And there we are. Kind of a roll down the window. Get a little look at Bell Bowl Prairie as we go by, sleeping under the blanket of snow. But the clock is ticking, the doomsday clock, and it's 5 minutes to midnight.
Yeah, surprisingly, Bell Bowl Prairie, this isn't the first time Bell Bowl Prairie has been threatened by airport expansion, and it had been saved in the past. So for me, looking at, well, what can someone like me do, and you read about what George Fell did and how he was able to preserve that particular prairie for as long as he did, maybe hopeful, right? And then to know that, I think I went out there with some botanists in October, and to hear them talk about, this is like ancient grass, and to hear, it kind of puts it into perspective, right? Like ancient, oh my gosh, this is like thousands of years old. This is super important.
This landscape is older than the pyramids, so that kind of, I think that is something that we could, latch on to a little bit, and to try to bring it home, how old of a landscape we're talking about, and the miraculous aspect of the fact that it's that old, but it's like more or less survived in its current state, for that long.
And then I also had the opportunity to walk out there with Jack White, and I think that was also a defining moment for me, because as he kind of was down on the grounds with this little, I don't know what botanists call them, but it was like a little glass, and was examining things, and he shared this little plot and said there's probably 40 species of plant in this little area. And I'm like, what? To me, that's just amazing. So it's like the rainforest in the Midwest here, right? Our prairies are like a rainforest, and these huge opportunities for biodiversity and life that we often don't hear about because, I don't know, I didn't know about it. I learned about it in the process of the advocacy, and now to me it's just, wow.
Yeah, went out to the prairie and heard about the excavation. My wife and I, she works for the Department of Natural Resources. She's our heritage biologist. And so we were like, well, we gotta go check this out, because any excavation in the prairie, or, from what we had heard from Jan Williams, we were super concerned. So went out there, and it was like 99 degrees and like full on humidity, and just a very unpleasant day to be in an environment where you're exposed to full sun. And so went out there, and the first bumblebee that we saw was a rusty patch bumblebee. It's like, what are the odds? Like, I live in Woodstock, Illinois, and so that's about an hour drive, and just to go there, and that's the first species you see, and then you see the devastation that had occurred on some of the acreage already, and you're like, oh boy, this is a lot bigger than we thought it would be. So really fortuitous that we were able to find those bumblebees, document their occurrence. Super important for the collective knowledge of our area, our region, but also the site in particular. And it wasn't just one bumblebee. It was like, we found several individuals, had to chase them all around to try to get a photo. That's all it always goes. And that's actually the first time that I've chased a bumblebee for a photo. Usually it's kind of passive. If a bumblebee presents itself, you're like, oh, cool, And even sometimes you can kind of touch them, because they're sort of like the name suggests, they're kind of just bumbling around. And certain species are a lot less skittish, it seems. But the rusty patch bumblebees certainly seemed to be on a mission that day. We were really trying to follow them around and document their presence, which was, not easy, but again, so glad that we made that trip.